Have you ever wondered why certain people treated you like you didn't matter? Why they dismissed you, belittled you, or acted as if you were invisible? What I'm about to share with you will change everything you thought you understood about human behavior. Because I discovered a psychological truth so powerful that once you grasp it, you'll never view people or your past the same way again. What if I told you that the way people treated you had almost nothing to do with you? That their cruelty wasn't a reflection of your worth, but a reflection of something inside them that they couldn't face? Stay with me. By the end of this message, you will understand the hidden psychology behind why you were mistreated, and even more importantly, why you unknowingly attracted certain people into your life. This is not about blame. This is about freedom. And the insights I'm going to reveal can release you from a pattern you've been stuck in for far too long. Let's begin with the truth you may have carried in silence. You have been mistreated. Maybe it was a parent who never recognized your value. Maybe it was a partner who criticized you until you doubted yourself. Maybe it was a friend who betrayed you, or coworkers who undermined everything you did. And through it all, you probably asked yourself, what did I do wrong? Why me? Am I really that unworthy? According to depth psychology, these questions miss the real point. Because the mistreatment you experienced was neither random nor deserved. Through years of studying the human psyche, I discovered something shocking. Cruelty follows psychological patterns. Patterns that have nothing to do with your value as a person. But here is where it becomes complicated. We also, without knowing it, play a part in these patterns. Not because we want pain, not because we choose it, but because of something hidden deep within us, something inherited, unexamined, and buried in our unconscious mind. Until we understand this hidden force, we continue attracting the same types of people who treat us in the same way, repeating the same emotional wounds. But why? Listen closely, because what I'm about to explain can transform your entire life. There's a statement most people hear but never fully grasp. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will control your life and you will call it fate. Let this settle for a moment. Through my work with thousands of individuals, I learned that we live from two levels: the conscious mind, which we're aware of, and the unconscious mind, which quietly controls up to 95% of our thoughts, behaviors, and choices. The unconscious stores everything we have rejected, denied, or pushed away. Everything we didn't want to feel. Everything we were taught was wrong or unacceptable. This hidden storage is what I call the shadow. And here's the part most people don't realize. Your shadow doesn't sit quietly in the background. It actively creates your reality. It influences who you connect with, who you trust, who you let into your life, and yes, how people treat you. The people who mistreated you weren't responding to your personality, your intentions, or your conscious values. They were responding to something invisible, something you were unconsciously projecting. Unresolved wounds, unacknowledged truths, parts of yourself you pushed away. Cruel people weren't drawn to you by accident. You weren't drawn to them by accident either. There was a psychological magnetism at play, a pull happening beneath your awareness. No one wakes up thinking, I want to hurt this person today, and you didn't think, I want to be hurt. But the dance still happened. A dance choreographed by forces you could not see. This is the dance of the shadow. And it goes even deeper. One of the most profound discoveries about relationships is this: we do not see people as they are. We see them through the lens of our own unconscious projections. This mechanism, shadow projection, explains why you experienced mistreatment so consistently. Every person carries a shadow, The parts of themselves they were told to hide, deny, or feel ashamed of. Maybe you were taught that anger was dangerous, so you buried it. Maybe you learned that your needs didn't matter, so you silenced them. Maybe you were told you had to be strong, so you hid your vulnerability. But these rejected parts don't disappear. They sink into the unconscious. And from the darkness, they begin influencing everything. What we reject in ourselves, we project onto others, and we attract people who embody what we've banished inside us. If you rejected your anger, you attract angry people. If you hid your power, you attract controlling people. If you silenced your voice, you attract people who silence you. And the person who mistreated you? They were projecting their shadow onto you too. Their insecurities, their shame, their guilt, their darkness. That's why abusers accuse their victims of the very things they themselves are guilty of. The narcissist calls you selfish. The liar calls you dishonest. The unkind person calls you cruel. But there is an even deeper truth. You didn't accept mistreatment because you were weak. You accepted it because it mirrored an unhealed part of you. Everything that triggers us in others is connected to something unresolved within ourselves. This is not about blaming the victim. This is about understanding how the unconscious traps us in old patterns. As children, we absorb the emotional environment we grow up in. If your caregiver was distant, critical, or unpredictable, your unconscious learned, this is what love feels like. So as an adult, you unconsciously gravitate toward people who feel familiar, not people who are good for you, not people who are healthy, but people who match the emotional blueprint you internalized as a child. The woman who had a critical mother ends up with critical partners. The man who had an absent father finds partners who emotionally abandon him. The child who received crumbs grows into an adult who accepts crumbs. The people who mistreated you were not random. They were perfectly cast characters in an unconscious drama you didn't realize you were reenacting. And they will keep appearing, different faces, same pattern, until the wound is healed. You can move to a new city, start a new job, or build a new life. But the pattern will follow until you break it from within. This is fate when we are unconscious. This is choice when we awaken. I discovered that something even deeper than your personal unconscious is involved in why you experienced mistreatment. Beneath our individual minds lies a shared layer of the psyche, something all humans inherit without ever being taught. I call this the collective unconscious. Inside this collective layer live ancient patterns of behavior, universal roles that appear in stories, myths, and human relationships across every culture and every era. These patterns are called archetypes: the victim, the persecutor, the rescuer, the tyrant, the scapegoat. These roles are not random. They're psychological scripts passed down through humanity. When someone mistreated you, they were not only acting from their personal wounds, they were stepping into an archetypal role. And without realizing it, you stepped into the opposite role. The boss who bullied you wasn't just being mean. He was unconsciously embodying the tyrant archetype. The friend who betrayed you acted out the shadow side of the companion archetype. The partner who left you continued the ancient story of abandonment that has repeated across history. This wasn't purely personal. It was transpersonal, bigger than just you and them. And until you become aware of these archetypes at play, you remain trapped inside their scripts. You unknowingly act out the victim. You unknowingly play the scapegoat. You unknowingly fulfill the role someone else needs to project their shadow onto. The mistreatment you went through wasn't a unique tragedy. It was an old psychological pattern being replayed through your life. But here is the empowering part. Once you recognize the archetype, you can step out of it. You can refuse the role of victim. You can shed the role of rescuer or scapegoat. You can stop participating in someone else's unconscious storyline. Awareness is the key that breaks the ancient pattern. This brings us to something even more essential, something at the center of why certain people were drawn to you. Most people move through life wearing a mask they believe they need in order to be accepted, loved, or allowed to exist. I call this mask the persona. The persona is the polite version of you, the agreeable version, the helpful version, the strong but silent version, the version that hides your anger, your needs, your softness, your truth. The persona isn't evil, society requires it. But it becomes a prison when you forget it's just a mask. Because when you live through your persona, you disconnect from your real self. You lose connection to what you truly feel, what you truly want, what you truly deserve. And here's the connection to mistreatment. People didn't mistreat the real you. They mistreated the masked you, the version of you who hid your boundaries, the version who stayed quiet, the version who wanted to please, the version who accepted too little. Predatory people, unconscious people, can sense when someone is disconnected from their authentic self. They can feel when someone is unsure of their worth. They can detect a weak persona like an instinct. That's why they targeted you. Not because you were weak, but because you were hiding your strength. Kind-hearted people, sensitive people, empathic people, people who grew up in pain, often suppress their darker emotions, their anger, their self-protection, their demands, their boundaries. So they attract people who embody everything they suppressed. The narcissist who used you, the friend who drained you, the partner who manipulated you. These individuals were not attracted to your weakness. They were attracted to your light. They gravitated toward your compassion, your depth, your generosity. But instead of rising to meet you, they tried to dim you. They were not seeking to share your light. They were trying to consume it. Because your presence reminded them of everything they abandoned within themselves. Unconscious people cannot stand being around those who are becoming conscious. Your growth threatens them. Your clarity exposes their chaos. Your boundaries reveal their disrespect. So they mistreated you to keep you small, to keep you confused, to keep you silent. Because your authenticity would make it impossible for them to control you. But here's where everything shifts. Through years of exploration, I discovered a healing process more powerful than anything else in psychology. A process that breaks every pattern. A process that frees you from the roles, the trauma, and the unconscious programming that kept repeating. This process is called individuation. Individuation is the journey of becoming your true self, the journey of integrating everything you rejected, denied, or hid. It is the path from unconscious living to conscious existence. It is the exact method by which you stop attracting people who hurt you. Individuation begins with the most difficult and courageous act of all. You must face your shadow. You must look directly at every part of yourself you buried, the anger you suppressed, the needs you denied, the strength you forgot, the voice you silenced, the boundaries you abandoned, the pain you minimized, the truth you were afraid to admit. Every part must be acknowledged. Every part must be reclaimed. Every part must come home. Most people avoid this work because it hurts. It's easier to blame the other person. Easier to say, "They hurt me," than to ask, "Why did I allow it?" Easier to stay the victim than to reclaim your power. But those who dare to face themselves experience something extraordinary. As you integrate your shadow, you become whole. And when you become whole, you stop attracting fragmented people. When you reclaim your anger, you stop drawing in angry people. When you honor your needs, you stop attracting takers. When you build boundaries, you stop allowing violators. Your energy changes, and your relationships change with it. Individuation transforms you from someone life happens to into someone who consciously shapes their own life. You stop being a character in someone else's unconscious story. You become the author of your own. But individuation is not a single moment. It's a lifelong commitment to becoming real. And it begins with one simple yet powerful decision. A decision captured in a single sentence. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. This is the doorway out of every old pattern, out of every old wound, out of every old version of yourself. From here, everything changes. If you've followed me this far, it means you're ready for the final truth. The truth that ties everything together. The truth that explains why certain people treated you the way they did, and why your life is beginning to shift now. There comes a moment on this journey when something unexpected happens. Your inner world becomes louder than your outer world. You start noticing things you once ignored. You feel things you used to suppress. You sense when something is off even before you can explain it. You're no longer blind to people's intentions. You're no longer willing to abandon yourself to keep the peace. You're no longer available for relationships that drain your spirit. This is the moment when your sensitivity becomes strength. You begin to recognize energy instantly. Who drains you, who energizes you, who confuses you, who brings clarity. What once felt like a curse becomes your compass. You realize you aren't meant to fit into every room. You aren't meant to connect with every person. You aren't meant to tolerate situations that pull you away from yourself. Your soul is no longer willing to shrink. People around you may not understand this transformation. They may say you've changed. They may accuse you of being distant, cold, or selfish. But they're only reacting to the fact that you've stopped playing the role they needed you to play. You've stopped being the silent one, the forgiving one, the flexible one, the one who absorbs everything and complains about nothing. And this, the moment you stop betraying yourself, is the moment your old life starts falling apart. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're finally doing something right. When you awaken to your truth, anything built on your suppression begins to crumble. The friendships that only existed because you had no boundaries, they fade. The relationships you tolerated out of fear, they break. The patterns you repeated out of habit, they stop. At first, this can feel like loss. It can feel like life is taking things away from you. But life isn't taking anything away. Life is clearing space. Space for real connections. Space for people who match your growth. Space for environments that support your authenticity. Space for a new version of you to emerge. Every ending is actually a beginning. Every collapse is a clearing. Every retreat is an invitation to rise. But there is one more piece, one that almost everyone overlooks. Once you awaken, your old self doesn't disappear immediately. It clings to you. It whispers old fears. It tries to drag you back into familiar patterns. This old self says, "You're too much. You're too emotional. You're too sensitive. You're too demanding. You'll end up alone." These thoughts aren't truth. They're echoes. Echoes of the version of you that survived by being small. But you're not meant to survive anymore. You're meant to live. And living requires something courageously simple. You must choose yourself even when others don't choose you. You must trust your intuition even when you can't justify it. You must honor your needs even when it disappoints someone. You must follow your inner path even when no one understands it. This is what it means to become whole. This is what it means to step into your true life. This is what it means to stop repeating your past. Because the truth is, you were never hard to love. You were just surrounded by people who didn't know how to love themselves. You were never asking for too much. You were asking the wrong people. You were never weak. You were carrying the weight of wounds that weren't even yours. You were never lost. You were navigating a world that couldn't see your depth. But now you see yourself, and that changes everything. Your journey doesn't end with understanding. It begins with awareness. Awareness of your patterns. Awareness of your shadow. Awareness of your worth. Awareness of what you will no longer accept. And from this awareness, a new life begins to form. A life built on clarity, strength, self-respect, and truth. So let me leave you with this. Write these words somewhere you can see them every day. I will no longer abandon myself for anyone. Say it until it becomes your default. Say it until it becomes your boundary. Say it until it becomes your power. Because the moment you stop abandoning yourself is the moment you stop attracting people who abandon you. And the moment you honor your truth is the moment life begins to honor you back. If anything in this message touched you, let it be this. You are not what happened to you. You are what you are becoming. And what you are becoming is powerful. Your new life is already calling, and now finally, you are ready to answer.